disappointed that my elected officials tried to keep it secret.
So we basically lost all our plants, definitely lost a lot of aquatic life.
Billions of liters of raw sewage leaked into this Hamilton waterway. Now residents are angry they were kept in the dark about the extent of the problem. The city of Hamilton confirms it knew how bad things were back in January. Over the past 4 years, more than 20 billion liters of untreated sewage had leaked into Stoke Creek. To give you an idea of how much that is enough to fill the Rogers Centre 15 times. But Hamilton residents weren't fully informed about the scope of that spill until just days ago. Angelina King is following the story, and she joined us now live from Hamilton. Angelina, what's the city saying to defend itself?
Well, a lot of councillors are talking about this today, saying there was a lot of private discussion about it. Some councillors saying that they wanted to make the public aware of what was going on, but eventually it was ultimately decided to keep it a secret. They say they were following legal advice. An investigation is underway, and the city says that by releasing some of this information to the public, it could harm a potential defense. Now, all of this information didn't come to light until the Hamilton Spectator obtained and published parts of confidential reports going to City Council that outlined the scope of the leak. And residents and environmental advocates here say that they're shocked and upset with City Council's decision. Behind this locked fence and under the water, a gate was left open, just ajar, but the consequences enormous. For 4 years, 24 billion liters of untreated sewage and storm runoff leaked undetected. It went into Shadoke Creek, which runs along Highway 403 and flows into Cootes Paradise, a marsh and tourist destination.
The combination of raw sewage and stormwater runoff is really toxic. It contains all kinds of horribles, everything from human excrement, blood, mucus, vomit, oil, petroleum, petrochemicals, metals, various kinds of poisons, and they would go into the wetlands, and some of them would stay there for a long time.
The city says it doesn't know how the gate was left open, but says as soon as it knew it was in July of 2018, it was shut. Cleanup began, and a report went to the Environment Ministry.
From that moment on, there was the health risk was gone.
John Body first noticed something was wrong in 2017.
The smell was pongy, you know, it's hard to describe, like kind of mud and rotting things.
He believes he was the first person to report it to the province in July of 2018.
And there was plastic debris floating around as well, things that people might flush down toilets.
That's when residents were told to stay away from the water because it had high levels of E. coli. The city was working to find out why. The Royal Botanical Gardens and other agencies have spent years and millions of dollars trying to restore and clean up Cootes Paradise. It says the city didn't say how much sewage the marsh had soaked up or how long the leak lasted.
So we basically lost all our plants. It had taken quite a few years to reestablish. The oxygen went out of the water, so we've definitely lost a lot of aquatic life.
The reason for keeping it all private, the city says it was following legal advice.
When you're under investigation, you don't talk about the details or the circumstances of what's being investigated. So it's an unsatisfying answer.
But Sachs, who is now an environmental lawyer, says while it'd be worth keeping some things private, like due diligence, the scope of the leak isn't one of them.
All it does to me is undermine public trust in their government.
So now the Ministry of Environment is investigating, and the city could face fines of millions of dollars for every day the sewage was leaking, and that's more than 1,000 days. Now there's a couple city councillors who are going to be putting a motion forward in the coming days saying that council should apologize to residents, and the city says there's nothing to suggest that the health of local residents was ever negatively impacted throughout all of this. Mike?
Okay, Angelina King reporting in Hamilton. Thank you. Premier Ford and Prime Minister Trudeau met face-to-face in Ottawa today for the first time since the federal election campaign, a chance to reset the relationship between the two leaders. Hannah Thibodeau joins us now to bring things down. So, Hannah, during the campaign, Trudeau didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Ford. What are they saying about this meeting tonight?
No, not at all. Today was a totally different image than what we saw during the election campaign. There were big smiles. They even joked a little bit about Ford's French and him learning French. Trudeau saying, hey, I could teach you French because he used to. However, he was a little bit busy. So jovial between the two men. And in fact, like you say, much different than the frosty relationship that we saw during the federal election campaign, where Trudeau was trying to convince voters, don't vote for the federal Conservatives because you're just going to get Ford cuts. However, Ford today said no hard feelings.
Prime Minister's family's been in politics for years. Our family's been in politics for years. It's politics. Now we have to do things that people want. People expect us to work together. We're the largest province. This is the federal government. And there's areas that we're going to work together. And I've put together a council of ministers, of my top ministers, with infrastructure and transit and other areas to work with their ministers. And I thought it was a phenomenal meeting.
Phenomenal meeting. They're getting along now. So that's the niceties aside, what are some of the key issues they wanted to discuss going forward?
Yeah, so they spoke about transit, they spoke about infrastructure, health care. Also, Trudeau is asking for Premier Ford's help when it comes to ratifying and getting the new NAFTA in place. So that's kind of interesting, too. There's one big thing they didn't talk about, though, Mike, and that is the carbon tax. The reason for that, the two men say, look, we both know each other's position on the carbon tax. Trudeau wants it. Ford's government is fighting it, so they decided to stick to issues that they agree on. You
can always get along when you leave something off the table not to talk about. So how does this sort of meeting benefit both Ford and Trudeau?
I think it benefits both of them, in particular Trudeau, because he's having issues with the West, for instance, because they didn't win seats in Alberta, they didn't win seats in Saskatchewan. The Liberals don't have MPs there, and there's this Western alienation feel. And in fact, when you look at Doug Ford, he and other top Conservatives had this resistance. Now, he is kind of moving towards the uniter.
We have to give businesses out there certainty, because if you don't give businesses certainty, they'll leave. They'll leave and they'll invest in other areas, and we want them to stay here. And it's absolutely critical, we unite the country and we stick together.
That sounds exactly like the message from Justin Trudeau and his new cabinet team. And plus, Doug Ford said that he would bring that message forward to the premiers when they sit down to meet on December 2nd in Mississauga, Mike.
All right. Thanks a lot, Hannah Thibodeau, for us in Ottawa this evening. Student groups are calling it a huge victory as the province's divisional court unanimously struck down a measure by the Ford government that made some post-secondary student fees optional.
This was never about choice. It was always about the Ford government trying to silence the exact bodies that hold them accountable and challenge them to do better.
In the court decision yesterday, the judges said the Ontario government acted beyond its authority. The so-called Student Choice Initiative announced in January lets students reduce some of their fees, but sparked concerns over the future of student clubs, newspapers, and other support services. Last spring, the Canadian and York Federations of Students launched a court challenge against the decision, saying it unfairly targeted student unions. Today, they hope this decision will mean their funding will be restored as soon as possible. Residents who live near the condos near Humber Bay say there's a problem plaguing their construction-filled neighborhood. They say a stretch of sidewalk along Lakeshore Boulevard is dangerous and in need of repair. They've logged thousands of complaints with the city this year. But as Lauren Pelly tells us, many are now asking who's accountable, developers or the city.
I tripped on my right foot, tripped on the difference there.
Stephen Gigliotti says this uneven sidewalk near his Humber Bay home has been a danger zone for years, thanks to ongoing condo construction. This is the broken wrist he suffered during a fall last winter.
And this is the scar now?
That's the scar.
So what did the doctor say about that injury?
The doctor told me, sir, you've crushed your wrist and need surgery immediately.
After the sun sets, other residents say this nearby stretch gets even more tricky to navigate.
It's just broken asphalt. There is potholes.
Steve Ulrich wants someone to be responsible for the damage, since construction in the waterfront community shows no signs of slowing down. So he called the city.
The 311 response I got was that this is unassumed by the city. This is the developer's responsibility.
City officials can issue hefty fines to contractors who aren't making that happen.
The fine could be up to $5,000, between $500 to $5,000.
So why are so many stretches of sidewalks still in rough shape in Humber Bay and beyond? While it's not clear how many 311 complaints are tied to construction work, there have been more than 3,300 service requests for sidewalk damage this year alone. That's around 30% of all sidewalk-related complaints.
This issue really puts the public safety at risk.
This accessibility advocate questions how much the city is cracking down.
There should be consequences, and I believe there should be enforcement.
City officials told us they are in talks with the contractors in Humber Bay, saying those companies are working to make repairs. But Gigliotti still worries if something doesn't change soon, others could get hurt like he did.
You saw the sidewalk further up here. It is literally treacherous, right? Because in the construction sites, they just don't care.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman on her bicycle died after a hit-and-run accident in Oshawa this morning. It happened on Sevenson Road just north of Highway 401 around 4 a.m. this morning. Police say a passerby found the woman in the middle of the roadway. She was rushed to hospital where she later died. Police say she was in her 30s, but they haven't released her name. Investigators are still looking for the suspect.
Did find evidence at the scene, and that evidence consisted of debris, and one of those items specifically was a headlight. So we know that the suspect vehicle has some pretty significant damage to the front end of that vehicle. We are making a plea to that driver, he or she, to contact a lawyer, turn yourself in, and do the right thing.
Police say the vehicle was most likely traveling southbound on Stevenson Road when the woman was hit. They're asking anyone who witnessed the incident or has dash cam video to come forward. A wild scene near the Junction neighborhood today after a driver plowed a vehicle into a number of cars.
Smashed into the 3 last cars that were there on the corner, and he hooked a left turn. So I immediately started running after him. When I turned and looked north, they're on the Q van was already stalled. He already had smashed another vehicle and came to a stop.
So this was the scene near DuPont and Symington. Police received multiple calls just before the lunch hour about an erratic driver in a cube van smashing into parked cars. Once the van came to a stop, witnesses reportedly stayed with the driver until police arrived. The van struck as many as 15 vehicles. Fortunately, no one was injured. Police believe the cube van was stolen. A man in his 30s is now facing a long list of charges.
It has a very sharp rays. It's penetrating at the back of the eyes.
Taking a closer look at a controversial sales pitch, CBC Marketplace has a new hidden camera investigation that tests claims used to sell blue light lenses and looks at whether the lenses even work. We'll bring you the details coming up. For the first time in its 38-year history, Canada's Wonderland is opening its gates for the winter season. Starting today and running through December 31st, the amusement park will be hosting its own Winterfest. Our Greg Ross is there live for us tonight. So, Greg, organizers are hoping to showcase a side of the park people haven't seen before.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, this is not the Canada's Wonderland I remember coming to when I was a kid. And I have to tell you, it does feel a little weird being here in late November dressed in a parka. But sure enough, they opened those gates just a little over an hour ago. You see the Christmas tree off in the distance there. They had a special lighting not long after opening the gates of the two 50-foot Christmas trees here. We've got an ice rink. You know, this water fountain that usually greets people coming through the main gates? It's now a massive skating rink. It's empty right now. Just about 5 minutes ago, there were about 20 people out there. I don't know where they all went. Maybe some of them over here with this crowd of people. We got lots of kids. Something that we're used to with Canada's Wonderland, you know, characters walking around. We got Jack Frost here.
Jack Frost, nice to meet you all. I hope it's a chilly day, yes? It's very cool.
It is actually a little chilly out here, and I'm sure he has something to do with that. How weird is it for you to be here in the winter, well, in what feels like the winter time anyway? Nothing to say, nothing to say. That's how excited everybody is. Are you guys excited to be here at Canada's Wonderland?
Yeah.
Why? What's different than you're used to?
Because it's beautiful in winter.
Well, you know what? It is beautiful because they set up all of these lights, like a canopy of lights over top of these people. We had a chance to talk to organizers about what these people can expect here at Canada's Wonderland in the wintertime.
We're looking to create a new holiday tradition for families.
And they're hoping to do that by transforming Canada's Wonderland into what they hope will be a winter wonderland.
Nobody's seen this place in the winter, and we have decked it out in 5 million lights. We have this massive skating rink in front of Wonder Mountain. We have more than a dozen live shows and performances. Most of those are outside in the park in intimate, environments.
Today, staff were putting the finishing touches on some of the costumes that will be used in those shows.
We have over 200 costume pieces total at Winterfest this season.
All of them winter or Christmas themed. Not available during Winterfest, the roller coasters, which are typically the biggest draw at Canada's Wonderland.
We'll have select rides open, and they're all weather dependent, but mostly the kids' rides in the kids section, which is now called Charlie Brown's Christmas Town.
But they have added some features that are exclusive to Winterfest, like transforming all of their merchandise shops into Christmas markets, and they've brought in some winter-themed food options as well.
We have festal fennel cakes, gingerbread, eggnog, and candy cane. We're going to have mulled wine and ciders, hot chocolate for the kids. We've got maple bacon on a stick, apple churros. But really, this is a nighttime event, and that's why there's so many lights. It's all about showcasing those 5 million lights that they've got set up around here. The plan is to have the park open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night until the end of December. In fact, during the Christmas holidays for the kids, they'll try and open it every day as well. So going to be lots of opportunities for people to come down and check out these lights, Mike.
Check out the lights and fill the social media feeds with all those pictures. Thanks a lot, Greg. And Nick Sienkiewicz joins us now with his weather forecast. I think Mother Nature cooperating with the marketing department at Wonderland. Before anyone calls, I know it's still technically fall, but it is feeling like winter tonight.
And the ski hill's opening up early as well and whatnot. Although, you know what, Mike, if we had done the same live last night, I don't think Greg would have been wearing that thick coat. Temperatures really dropping over the last 24 hours. I'm going to put this in the numbers here. So right now we're sitting at 1 degree in Toronto, 0 up in Markham. Let's look at your current temperatures. Last night at 1 a.m., and that's why I have daytime in quotes, at 1 a.m., these were the temperatures that we were looking at, 11 degrees in the city of Toronto, and then it sort of fell throughout the night and throughout the morning as well. Winds make you feel a little cooler. Right now, 26 kilometers per hour. However, earlier today, gusts to about 60 kilometers per hour. A few clouds out there, but for the most part, we had some good sunshine today. A little bit in the way of flurries out toward the northwest, but otherwise staying clear as we move through tonight and into tomorrow as well. Look for some good sunshine in the forecast for tomorrow. Your forecast for tomorrow, following -4 for tonight, 5 degrees, and mainly sunny skies. More weather in just a bit.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Nick. This is drone footage of McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Now, come Sunday, these seats will be packed with football fans. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the Grey Cup. One of those teams will end a long championship drought. I hope the Ticats, though. Devin Brew is at the Grey Cup Festival in Calgary right now. How's the atmosphere there, Devin?
Mike, Friday night of Grey Cup weekend, and the party is hitting high gear. I'm at the BMO Center, downtown Calgary. They know how to throw a party in this city. I'm standing just down the hallway from Ryderville. I had a fan the other day tell me the Grey Cup is like a big Saskatchewan reunion. So we know the Rider fans are going to be here. The Bomber fans have arrived. The Oskee Wee Wee Hamilton Tiger Cats fans chanting throughout these streets and in these halls. It is shaping up to be yet another extraordinary party here, the 107th Grey Cup, Mike, and you talked about it. Some big-time droughts. The Bombers haven't won since 1990. The Hamilton Tiger Cats haven't won since 1999. I had a Bombers fan just walk by seconds ago. He says, "We're just happy to be here. We've had so much heartbreak tonight." So that's the mood in this city here tonight as we get ready for the game. There is a game.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. As you say, no championship for either team in the 21st century. They're desperate on both sides.
They are desperate. Fans, at least, are desperate, Mike. But what I'm hearing from the players, and I was just at McMahon Stadium talking to the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the players aren't buying into this drought talk. In fact, the receiver for the Tiger Cats, Luke Tasker, said, "We're not desperate." He used that word. He said, "We want to be part of this Grey Cup glory." That's what they're playing for. Grey Cup glory. We know Hamilton is favored going into this game. What an extraordinary season they had. 15 wins, 3 losses. They beat the Bombers in both meetings this season. But Mike, on Sunday in Calgary, forget all of that. 60 minutes of football and the Grey Cup on the line. Enjoy it.
Well, Devin Haru in Calgary tonight.
I'm just enormously grateful. I mean, I just don't know what to say, really. I mean, I just feel so fortunate that I can still be here to sort of appreciate it, you know what I mean?
A fire took everything away from him, but now his neighbors are trying to give some of it back. Coming up, we'll bring you the story of this local musician at Orchestra Toronto who came to his rescue.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Digital screens are part of our daily lives, but are they emitting a blue light that could be harmful to our health? If you go to an optical store, they may try to sell you a special lens to filter that out, but does that actually work? Our colleagues at Marketplace looked into that, and Mukta Gebrselassie joins us right now. So tell us about your investigation.
Well, we heard a lot of talk about this blue light that's coming off of our screens, our computers, our phones, our TVs, and we heard that it's harmful. We wanted to know what was behind the sales pitch, so we went into these stores with hidden cameras. From fashion to fit, the selection of glasses is endless. But the latest sales pitch from some of Canada's largest optical chains is about blue light filtering lenses that apparently save you from your screens.
Because the blue light is really damaging.
We visited LensCrafters, Hakim Optical, Hudson's Bay Optical, and Vogue Optical locations in Ontario with hidden cameras. We kept hearing about the harm that digital blue light can cause.
It has a very sharp rays, it's penetrating at the back of the eyes.
But they've got it wrong, says eye surgeon Dr. Sunir Garg. He's worried that consumers are being misled.
I think people are thinking, well, geez, you're right. After I use my computer for a bunch of hours, my eyes don't feel very good. I can't see really well. They're kind of irritated. But what's bothering them isn't the blue light. It's the fact that when they're staring at their screen a lot, they're not blinking as often. That causes the eye to dry out, and when your eyes become dry, they become irritated and scratchy and tired.
Back at the stores, the claims about blue light from your screens get more alarming.
It caused the retinal damage.
I think people are exaggerating the problem and are misleading their customers. And so I think a lot of this is just to create sort of, I hate to say it, fear and confusion. And when people are fear and confused, they end up spending money on things they don't need to spend money on.
We even hear this at one HBC location.
So it causes skin cancer, cataract, macular degeneration, and other eye conditions.
Blue light does?
Yeah, if it is a constant exposure.
From your digital screens?
Digital screen, laptop, cell phone.
They seem to be getting that info from an in-store pamphlet.
Those are the two most scary things you can talk about. You can talk about cancer and blindness, and you're now telling me that these glasses will protect against both? Where do I sign? But that's just not where the scientific data is.
We asked the companies about the claims. They all say the science is still evolving and argue that blue light can be damaging. LensCrafters and Vogue Optical say they'll reinforce their staff training. Hakim adds that the blue light filter lenses they sell won't harm consumers. After we contact them, Hudson's Bay Optical says the claims about cancer and macular degeneration in their stores are wrong. They say they'll pull the pamphlets and retrain staff. The maker of the lenses stands by its marketing.
Well, Mukta, what about blue light from our devices at night? We hear that that can affect people's sleep. Does it still apply?
That still applies. So this is the one area everybody seems to be agreeing on. We heard this from the experts. The research is still there that blue light at night can mess with your melatonin. We heard it from the salespeople and the opticians in the stores as well. And one of them even gave advice that you don't even need these lenses. You just need to turn down your light levels on your devices. So this is the one area everybody seems to be agreeing on.
I know there are settings on my computer and my phone that let me change the color temperature.
Absolutely.
I'll look into that. Okay, thank you, Mukta.
You're welcome.
And you can see her full investigation tonight on CBC Marketplace. That's at 8 o'clock on CBC Television.
I'm Talia Ricci, and coming up, we're going to tell you about Reclaim Fresh. It's a program run by the Mississauga Food Bank that partners with grocery stores to ensure that everyone has access to fresh and healthy produce.
My wallet's in there, my money's in there, my, manuscripts. I'm a composer. Everything's in. My life is in there.
That was Richard Harriet earlier this week, moments after a fire on Queen Street West forced him out of his building. Harriet, as you heard him, is a musician. He lost his home and his possessions in that fire. Tonight, a number of people have come together to help Harriet. After hearing what happened to him, Orchestra Toronto immediately set up a fundraiser. And as Kelda Yoon tells us, the wider music community also immediately stepped up.
What was the first song you ever learned?
Oh, well, it was a Clementi Sonatina. I think it was this one.
But Richard Harriet graduated from that quickly, playing in orchestras in Newfoundland, the UK, Toronto. And composing original work like this piece.
I feel even if my equilibrium is all upside down, which it is at the moment, as soon as I start to play, I just feel like I'm at home.
But 3 days ago, a fire ripped through this 3-story building on Queen West near Dufferin, leaving Richard and 3 others homeless and destroying all their belongings.
All my manuscripts are gone, all my scores, my books. That's the thing that is so cruel.
News of Richard's situation spread quickly.
By the time I got into the office, I had messages from Jay, from a few other orchestra members.
Jenny Warden and Jay Marsh from Orchestra Toronto set up a GoFundMe page. Within 3 days, it's raised over $15,000.
All of us who work in the arts live on the edge of precarity. We all recognize that about each other. And so there's this sense of this need to make sure that we're all taken care of. There's another orchestra member.
Oh, in the band.
Yep.
Many of those who donated, fellow musicians who have crossed paths with Richard through the years.
As a musician, I also know he's lost his instruments. He's lost his all of the work that he's done that may not be in the Canadian Music Centre in recordings, or may not be saved on a drive somewhere. It might be just handwritten manuscripts, and that's the tragedy.
I'm just enormously grateful. I mean, I just don't know what to say, really.
Richard is currently living with a friend and says he's taking it one day at a time. He's also giving back. Next week, he's playing a fundraiser for Orchestra Toronto. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
And it's been a week since a devastating fire broke out at a North York apartment, displacing hundreds of residents. Now, 2 Toronto school boards are giving a helping hand to students who've been affected by it.
To be homeless is a difficult feeling. Sorry. First week was, again, very stressful because it was just fresh. Now, again, just as they said before, now it's the long term. So now we need to think about permanent residence because people still need to work. We need to go to school.
The fire happened last Friday night at a high-rise residential building on Gosford Boulevard. Displaced around 700 residents, including 23 students and 1 staff member from the Toronto Public Board and 27 students from the Toronto Catholic Board. Both school boards are now running campaigns to raise money for the affected families. For more information on how to donate, you can head to the websites for each of those school boards.
I feel it's only natural to pay it forward, so I want every student that comes to this space to feel welcome, to be valued, that they don't have to hide who they are.
He is the principal of Pelmo Park, and he's being credited with bringing his community together. Coming up, we'll introduce you to Mr. Morgan. Nick Cernkovich is back with his weather forecast. I'm hoping for some sunny skies, or at least as the sun sets tomorrow or Sunday, because if you look to the west at sunset, Jupiter and Venus are going to be very close to each other. I want us to check that out.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe we can do something about that, Mike, because really what matters to all of us anyway is the weekend, but I'm going to bring you sunshine for the weekend, and I'm going to bring you clear skies for tomorrow night. We'll get to that in just a second here. I want to put the numbers into perspective. Last night, I mentioned off the top there, we hit 11 degrees at 1 a.m., and then the temperature sort of fell throughout the night and throughout the day. The average daytime high for this time of year, 5.6. The average low minus 1.8. So instead of having a low, we were actually up to 11 degrees last night. Anyway, pretty impressive numbers. That's a look at the averages for this time of year. Right now we're sitting at 1 degree, 0 as you get a little further down towards southwestern Ontario. You factor in the winds, though, feels like about -5 in the city of Toronto. That's with the wind chill. And certainly today, winds were gusting about 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. They've eased up a little bit through the afternoon and evening hours. We're still seeing gusts, though, to about 35 kilometers per hour. Now, those winds are going to continue to ease tonight, but we're still expecting to see steady winds through the overnight of about 15 to 20 kilometers per hour. So still a bit breezy tonight, but not quite as bad as what we had earlier today. Sky cover generally clear. Still a little bit of cloud cover out there, but generally clear. As we move through tonight, it's going to stay clear into tomorrow morning as well. Throughout the afternoon tomorrow, look for clear skies, and then as we move through tomorrow, later in the night and into Sunday, some cloud cover on the way. And Sunday is going to be on and off cloud cover. At times a mix of sun and cloud, but certainly into the afternoon, periods of just cloudiness. Now, for tonight, temperatures down to about -4 degrees in the city of Toronto, -2 down towards St. Catharines. Winds about 20 kilometers per hour, which means the wind chills will be around -8 for tonight. Tomorrow, pretty much on seasonal there. Temperatures sitting at about 5 degrees around the Golden Horseshoe there, and that comes with mainly sunny skies. But the winds pick up once again. We're looking at winds gusting to about 40 kilometers per hour through tomorrow afternoon. Here's a look at your forecast through the next 5 days. So a little breezy tomorrow, but sunny, 5 degrees. 5s all the way through till Monday as well. And then as we head into Tuesday, that's the warmest of our days. Bit of a bump in our temperatures up to 8 degrees and then back down to 6 on Wednesday.
Nice stretch of weather. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
Well, school assemblies are held for many different reasons, but one school near Weston Road in the 401 recently held a unique one. Pelmo Park Public School organized an assembly to thank their principal. Maribel Taruk shows us why.
Let's go. Dom. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Every morning and afternoon, this is what you'll find Ainsworth Morgan doing. A small but big gesture from the principal of Pelmo Park Public School to his students.
How are you doing? How was your afternoon? Good? All right.
98% of our students are bused in. So the challenge is sort of building community when there's limited opportunity to access the space before or after school. And not really within walking distance for the vast majority of our students.
That vision was born 3 years ago when Mr. Morgan arrived at Pelmo Park, located in what's been called an at-risk neighborhood. His goal? To show the students their value. It's evident from the moment you walk in.
So we talk a lot about, part of our vision here, building that culture of trust, having pride in who you are, pride in the school, pride in your community. So we on our daily announcements, we talk about, being Pelmo proud, and what does that look like, what does that sound like. We honor that, we celebrate that.
He showed me a mirror and he said, look at yourself. You have power, your hijab is power, you're a beautiful person inside and outside, and you need to walk like that. You need to be confident.
And for one day, last October, that pride was on full display, a surprise show of appreciation for the principal.
I walked in, and to my shock, there were all the students and staff and parents. I was speechless, to be honest.
Morgan's mission is bearing fruit.
That way. Thank you.
Last year, the school's EQAO test results were the best they've had in 9 years. If the academic results aren't testament enough, just listen to how his students feel.
I knew that I saw in his eyes that he was going to be the best principal.
He taught us many things like self-identity, whether like you have a different religion or you have a different color than other people. It doesn't matter because here at Pelmo, we're all family.
You can see Maribel's full feature this weekend on Our Toronto. That's Saturday and Sunday at noon, Monday at 11 a.m. on CBC television, and you can stream it anytime on CBC Gem.
I'm going with you. Anna? No. Excuse me, I climbed the North Mountain, survived a frozen heart, and saved you from my ex-boyfriend, so, I'm coming.
It'll be a weekend of, can we go see it now? For a lot of parents out there. Frozen 2, the sequel to Disney's animated mega hit, opens today. Will it be a movie to make you belt Let It Go one more time? Or will you want to build a snowman instead? Eli Glasner will break it all down for you coming up. A new program in Mississauga is rescuing food, reducing waste, and feeding the community. Reclaim Fresh picks up quality, edible food from the back doors of grocery stores and then distributes them to food banks and people in need. Talia Ricci has the details.
How are you?
Wednesday mornings at Iqbal Halal Foods in Mississauga, a truck visits the shop to pick up things like eggs, meat, fresh fruit, and vegetables.
We can just put it on the pallet? Yeah.
The food might not look perfect, but it's perfectly good to eat.
Things like this. So this is a perfectly good eggplant, but people won't pick it up because of this.
So instead of throwing it out, it's helping to feed people in the community like Jane.
It makes an enormous difference because those foods cost a lot of money in the grocery store, and those are the foods that people usually don't spend money on because they can't get that much food for their money.
The program is called Reclaim Fresh. It was launched by the Mississauga Food Bank.
We're coming up on 20 grocery stores in Mississauga who have partnered with us from all the different chains and banners, including some independent stores. We're hoping to see a new store come on every month until we've reached them all in the city.
Their goal is to provide 5 million additional meals to the community over the next 5 years, with ingredients that are better for the body than processed food or canned goods.
For people who are using food banks, whether for a short period or a long period, helping them stay healthy also contributes to their success in life. And so we want to make sure that the food we're providing is as healthy as possible.
And that goal seems to be working. Jane says she's feeling
absolutely healthier.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
You can do your part this holiday season to help support food banks across the GTA. Donate to CBC Toronto's Sounds of the Season fundraiser with the Daily Bread Food Bank. We're collecting money and non-perishable food donations here at the Broadcast Centre. You can also donate online or over the phone. And 2 weeks from today, we're having an open house here at CBC Toronto. There'll be activities, live performances, and different events all day long. So come on down and bring a donation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Lion.
Grizzly bear.
Monster.
Brown bear.
Angry face.
Black bear. Hans.
Unredeemable monster.
Greatest mistake of your life.
We didn't even kiss you.
That's Elsa, Anna, and company back together on the big screen today in Frozen 2, the highly anticipated follow, maybe not by parents, but biggest follow of the biggest animated film of all times. But can Frozen's sequel let it go and live up to the hype, or is it a bit of a fixer-upper? Eli Glasser joined us now. So this first one, a huge, hard act to follow. Where's this movie take us?
Well, the end of the first film was all about happily ever after. That wouldn't make for much of a sequel, and so at the beginning, we have Elsa, and Elsa, there she is. She's hearing a voice, and even though everything is right in the world, she's in the kingdom with her sister, Anna, but she's drawn by that voice. Let's take another listen.
What would I do without you? You'll always have me. Has Elsa seemed weird to you?
She seems like Elsa.
There's this voice. Voice? What does that mean?
Now, what that means is that people are going to start singing soon. Of course, you can't talk about Frozen without talking about the Mothra of earworms, Let It Go. Massive, massive hit. Well, this movie tries to compete. There's some new numbers, including she was about to start belting out Into the Unknown, as performed by Idina Menzel, the actor who is voicing Elsa there. And it's a beautiful number. We saw a little hint of it. You start to see these ice sculptures coming to life around her as she's almost interacting, duetting, kind of singing back, harmonizing with this haunting voice. But she also unlocks this new elemental power that is actually now a danger to the kingdom. So she wants to investigate, but Anna just lost her sister before in the last film. She doesn't want another quest, so let's take a look at what happens next.
You are not going alone.
Anna, no, I have my powers to protect me. You don't.
Excuse me, I climbed the North Mountain, survived a frozen heart, and saved you from my ex-boyfriend, and I did it all without powers. So, you know, I'm coming.
Me too. I'll drive.
I'll bring the snacks! There you go, Olaf in a dress. So the gang's all here. You've got Elsa investigating the new powers and what's the source of her powers and the voice. You've got Anna trying to keep her safe, heading into the Enchanted Forest. Kristoff is there. He wants to pop a very important question, and we're off to the races.
Okay, best of everybody gathered back in this again. So many elements to be juggled in this. What's the movie doing that's different this time?
You know, there's a lot that's new, but in a way, Mike, there's not enough. Like, it feels very calculated and honestly somewhat confusing. It's like they're trying to go through the Frozen greatest hits, you know, something tearing the sisters apart, another power anthem for Elsa, silly song for Olaf. It's all here. Now, some of the new stuff that is interesting is the Northundra, which is, and we'll see them soon again, it's actually the indigenous community that are in the Enchanted Forest. So they're adding a little more backstory. They're actually addressing colonization. I mean, great to see what Disney is trying to do here, but it's so busy. There's so many things happening that it all kind of gets lost in the mix. I mean, the 1 second you're looking at the elemental powers, and then Kristoff takes center stage and sings a power ballad, and it looks like a Bon Jovi video with reindeer. So all in all, entertaining songs, beautiful to look at, but certainly not as magical as the original 3 stars out of 5.
It's still maybe on its way to make another billion for Disney.
Probably, yes.
But as a movie reviewer, I know sometimes you come across films you just want to let everybody know about, and you got one today as well.
It's called Waves. Doesn't have a lot of stars, so I'm going to give it mine so that you're paying attention. 5 out of 5.
Wow.
This is my new favorite film of the year. It is remarkable. So let me tell you the story. It's about basically kind of middle upper class family in suburban Florida. There they are. You might recognize Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us. But the main focus is Tyler, young high school star athlete. And his father's always pressuring him, saying, you have to be better. We don't have the luxury of being average. Let's take a closer look.
I'm trying to give you the tools to succeed in this world. It's not easy out there. Everything I do is for y'all. Everything.
I know you're under a lot of pressure right now, but I'm just getting really scared.
He is under an amazing amount of pressure. This is a film about that lack of communication with his parents and what happens in those cracks, in those spaces when we're talking past each other. It's a film in 2 parts, and the middle of this is a trauma that destroys the family, but then what happens next? So the first part is about the brother, and then it's the sister's story, and it's told in such a visceral, emotional way that it wrecked me and then gave me a second life. So it's an amazing experience. It's called Waves, and you should check it out.
Just in one theater to start, but will
Yeah, it's going to be wider in December.
Okay, thanks a lot, Eli.
You're welcome.
There's a live look downtown. Will it be a frozen weekend in our city? Nick is back with one final look at the forecast after the break. The 10th annual Canadian Beatbox Championships take place this weekend here in Toronto. We spoke to two beatboxing champions, Andre and Nicholas, about their journey to the top and the beats and sounds that got them there.
I'm always beatboxing. I can't stop. On the train, going home. So I'll pretty much just freestyle and I'll try to add more sounds as I go on to see how many sounds I could keep adding, like. You already can do like a lot of sounds. You just have to put them in a rhythm. Some sounds, and I'll use a falsetto voice. And then I'll put my teeth over my lips. And it gives a vibration. That's called the siren. And my first beat was, and I did combined. And that was it.
For me, the Beatbox Canadian Champs has always just been about like coming together with other beatboxers around Canada and just meeting them. Really motivates me to become like a better artist and a beatboxer in general. Realizing that there's a pretty big like beatboxing culture within Canada, and it's totally low key, but then once you see it, it's wow. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh wow, I had no idea that this existed. This is amazing. A throat bass is basically when you're growling or when you're clearing your throat, if you clear it softly and you do it slow enough, you kind of create this tone. if you go inward, so you can do like weird stuff like that. Or something along those lines. You get the idea.
Yo, real quick, are you ready for the overtime or what? Make some noise. Come on, come on, come on.
If you come in to go and watch Canadian Beatbox Championship, you're going to see the finest vocal percussionists and beatboxers from across our country going head to head. Kind of like people who would say like an 8 Mile style, but not rap battle, all vocal percussion, all people doing sound effects, and it's really going to blow your mind what the human mouth and vocals and just the body can do on a microphone. You can watch something online and be like, oh, that's kind of neat, but then you see someone actually do it in front of you, you're like, whoa, like that guy's actually making that sound, how's that possible? And that's the wow factor that's really involved with beatboxing from the start.
Talk about the wow factor.
No kidding. You're not going to ask me to do that, right?
No.
We'll beatbox the weather, right?
No,
No, I'm not.
Wow us with the weather forecast.
Yeah.
How about that?
Not looking too bad. -4 degrees tonight, but 5 tomorrow. That puts us back on seasonal. We talked about the 8 coming up next week. So pretty good forecast considering the snow we had, a week and a bit ago?
Absolutely can't beat that one.
Yeah.
As well. Thanks a lot, Nick. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. Talia Ricci has her next local newscast tonight at 11 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good night.